Hello and a warm welcome to Federal special program Capital Beat. Rather, it's a budget day special live coverage. Now, Nirmala Sitharaman presented her ninth budget today, asserting that the budget is a policy document driven by yuva shakti, that is a youth power, and based on kartavyas or the duties. Now, she proposed seven high-speed rail corridors, new dedicated freight corridors, and the operationalization of 20 national waterways over the next 5 years as part of the budget. Now, if you look at the other pointers, there was a hike in the Securities Transaction Tax, capital expenditure hike to 12 lakh crores, no changes in the personal income tax, fresh incentives for MSMEs, rare earth corridors, high speed rail projects, and major tourism and infrastructure expansion plans. So, the big question is, how would you rate the budget 2026 politically? Was it lackluster? Did it meet the expectations? We'll get going straight into the discussion. Joining me this evening is Professor Charan Singh, who is the former RBI Chair Professor of Economics at IIM Bangalore. So thank you so much for joining. We have Salman Soz from Congress. Thank you so much, Salman, for joining. Sarvesh Tripathi, spokesperson of the Samajwadi Party. Thank you so much. And we have Girish Joshi, senior journalist and political commentator, someone who tracks business very, very closely. Now, let me begin with Salman because we are trying to discuss the politics of the budget. I was reading a number of reactions coming in from the Congress saying that the budget did not meet expectations. It was it looked lackluster. What would you really say to this almost 90-minute speech of Nirmala Sitharaman?
Neelu, thank you so much for inviting me. First of all, I would say that I don't know why my Congress colleagues said that this was below expectations. In fact, I expected exactly this. The way I would put it is, as a friend put it, "Bahut bakwas, kam vikas." That is the story of this budget. I mean, mercifully, I must thank Nirmala ji for having a relatively short speech. So that was, I think, in my view, that was the crowning achievement of this budget. The fact of the matter is that anyone who paid attention to this budget realized that the government was sprinkling around small sums of money, relatively small sums of money, across sectors, across industries, across interest groups. And if that is the kind of budget that this government provides after 12 years, it's shocking to me that in this day and age, we have a budget like this. Instead of thinking about the really big picture, what is the big picture in front of India? The big picture is that countries like China, United States, even European countries, even Japan, which is going through so much difficulty, they're thinking about the next frontiers of technology, the next frontiers of what economies have to aspire for. And our government is basically tinkering. And I'll give you an example, which I think people sitting at home should just, I don't know what to do. Should we cry? They talked about the finance minister led with a biopharma shakti mission. And she said, we're going to allocate 10,000 crore rupees to it over 5 years, which, if you do a rough calculation, is about $225 million per year. And by the way, this year they've allocated 500 crores for that. $225 million is what Pfizer spends in 2 weeks. 2 weeks of Pfizer's R&D spending is $225 million. That is what our government proposes to spend per year. And then they want us to become a hub. This is insane. So I'm very angry. By the way, I'm not angry as a congressperson.
Oh, but Salman, many people have been saying that this budget went into the specifics, and the specifics to the extent that they were very sector specific. They looked at those nuances, which will help India propel towards the 2047 Viksit Bharat vision.
No, I'm sorry, it doesn't work that way, because a lot of the budget is already spoken for. You can't really make major changes there. So it's a relatively small amount of money that is kind of discretionary to some extent. But I think what you can do is like we did in the early 90s, what you can do is you can signal and say that what are the kinds of big things that you want to do. And let's face it, the government of India cannot spend all of the money to make India truly a developed economy, which is going still far away. But what we can do is we can leverage our good offices in the government to bring in the private sector, crowd in the private sector. But what our private sector has been essentially doing since they got their corporate tax cut in 2019 is essentially banking a lot of the profits. Now a little bit of that investment is happening, but most of the investment they're doing is abroad. So net foreign direct investment, for example, which is basically investment coming in and investment going out, is now negative. That means our people are actually investing abroad. They're finding it better to invest abroad. So I think this kind of
Yes.
and I hope that people pay attention, because after 12 years with so much propaganda, such a big mandate, I think they've wasted their mandates. Of course, this time they don't have as big a mandate, but I must say that this is not what I didn't expect. I thought at least there would be something they would build on something, but there's nothing. Quite frankly, there's nothing. I'm very disappointed.
All right. So you're disappointed. You're saying that, frankly, there was nothing in the budget. Coming to survey now.
Sorry,
Yes.
if I may. I mean, if
Yes.
you just look at the budget numbers, there are some warning signs there. Your net tax revenue, your tax collections are down. If your tax collections are down, that means there is some problem in your economy in terms of weaknesses in demand. And then you take Narega, which was the stabilizer for our economy, and you repeal it, and then you take most of those expenses 40%, not most, will go to the states. I guarantee we're going to face an even bigger problem in demand in the next year or two.
Right. All right. Let me come to Sarvesh now. Sarvesh, whenever the budget speech is read out, a common man on the street, the general refrain or the general question which everybody asks is, "What has budget for me?" Now, I was listening to what Akhilesh Yadav said, that the last time the budget was meant for only 5% of the people. This time, did you see anything very cogent, very substantive as far as the common man in India is concerned? Why would a common man look forward to the budget 2026?
See, thank you for inviting me, first of all. Then I would say it is not for 5%, it is for 4%, 3% this year. It was for 5 years, 5% people last year. It is for 3-4%, because I'll tell you why. We were never expecting anything out of this budget. Economic survey in itself started with a disclaimer that owing to the world scenario, we are not going to give you anything. So now I'll come to only change economic survey had it drawn the RTI in itself and said that RTI should be thrown away, because RTI is hampering the growth of the country. I don't know how and why. Again, 5%, because when you talk about this, no taxation respite for middle class, nothing for the lower class, nothing for the youth, nothing for the farmers, absolutely nothing for the people of India. Corporate total return swap on corporate bonds is for corporate, for the 3 to 4% their own people. Biogas based things are for it is targeted for Cyan Agro or Cyan Bio or the Gadkari sons or whomsoever they want to benefit from. But the normal janta of this country has got nothing from it. The only thing which happened today was the total wastage of a Sunday. They saw that a Sunday is a day when they can get some respite. So we would start this on Sunday. I was happy that it ended in 90 minutes, because if it would be any longer, that would have been complete wastage. It is wastage for the spokesperson and all of us who are sitting here, but there's nothing for the local janta.
You might have a point when you say that there was nothing in the budget for the common man, but did Nirmala Sitharaman manage to grab some good headlines for herself today at least?
No, it was not a very good political budget also. She said that for the real estate part, what she quoted was reform, not rhetoric. But how? She said that it should be labor intensive, the growth should be labor intensive. Now, not over the past 2 decades we were talking about these all were capital intensive. Now we are looking forward to a labor intensive growth. But how? Explain it. It was a, and the market is showing everything. Market itself is self-explanatory. So it is not going to help them anyway. It is a political disaster also. The nation was eyeing upon it, that the middle class would get some respite. What the farmers are getting out of it? UP has got nothing. They are saving it for the next year, I guess. But no one has got. Only I saw a statement by Kangana Ranaut. She was very happy that taxation respite is there. Taxation slab is, is very reformative and very good for lower class. Only she knows. We don't know any change in taxation slab, and there is nothing for the nation. No, for the 5%, 3%, 4%, whatever it is, for their own people, it may be good. It is very good for Sian Agro or anyone they are giving benefit to. But for the 95% of the people, they've got nothing out of it.
All right, now let me come to Girish Joshi. Girish, many times, and Prime Minister has not said this once, but many times that he talks about reform, perform, and transform. He keeps talking about that. Now, did you see these taglines as far as today's budget was concerned, and as far as also laying down the vision for 2047? Do you think that the budget was really up to the mark? And according to you, what are the big highlights of the budget due to which the political parties or maybe the common man would look forward to? For example, I was listening to Shashi Tharoor, and he said that there was nothing for Kerala. Even the poll-bound states are complaining that they have not got anything. So, what is the idea? What was BJP's idea behind putting a budget like this, where they are not even meeting up the expectations of the poll-bound states as well? Mamata Banerjee again was complaining that no fund is coming. We are the ones who are doing everything. Yes, Girish.
Neelu, normally if you now understand the budget presented by this is actually not a budget. This was a political speech written by the PM and spoken by a finance minister. Whatever last year you said, there was nothing saying about what did they do, what promises they had made last time. But if you see, I was astonished. What I was expecting that they would talk something on rare earth material, on mining. But when we dig the things, the things are going to change after 1st of April 2026. I'll give you the reason. Since 2005, there was one case pending between Mineral Development Authority and Steel Authority of India, where Tamil Nadu had filed the case on India Cement that they should be allowed to take the lease charges from the miners. But under the Central Act, government said that we would only be collecting the royalty, which for state was never getting any piece of profit from that. They almost collected 38 lakh crores in 10 years, but nothing was to say about it. And when 9-bench judge gave a judgment that because the land belongs to state, they have all right to take the lease charges, lease rentals from the company. Now, this is applicable from 1/4/2026. Now imagine these 12 states, which are rich in rare earth material and natural resources, are going to get a big piece of advantage. So only thing what you hear is, they said only one thing, 10,000 crores into rare earth material research center. So they want to get again there to check what is happening. Now this is going to be a big income. And again, that has been approved that since 2005, in retrospective effect, they can collect the rentals in gap of 12 years. It will be divided into 12 years. Pro rata, they'll be charging them with the newcomers and the old levies. So definitely states which are rich, and they are major states, there's Maharashtra, Jharkhand, Andhra Pradesh, West Bengal, Orissa, Gujarat. So these people are now going to get a very big revenue from the leasing of the mining lands. So they are not bothered. They haven't talked about that because they have not taken. They have talked even about the employment there. Now they would encash on that after telling that once the mining work increases, you'll automatically get a job. There will be logistic movements or transportation will give. But if I remind whatever they are saying, they can always put that same wine in the old bottle or old wine into the same bottle. Yuva, shakti, and teen, kartavya, and people partners into prosperity. These are all dialogues. These are political dialogues. This is not budget. Now, if I just remind you in a short while. Last budget, they had promised plug and play industrial parks into 14 cities. What happened to that? Plug and play means the infrastructure will be so ready that I can just take my machine and start the production from the next day. Nothing has happened to that. August 24, they had said that we are creating a cluster, national industrial corridor for 14 cities where you will have a fast transportation and easy connectivity. Where is that? I don't know. So there is no say about what they had promised last year. Then they had said for the small people is Sundar Bazaar. That Sundar Bazaar, and they wanted to amend that Street Vendors Act so that they get a place into a cluster where they will be permitted to do a business. That is not there. Then national mission, what you said is for the natural farming, 840 crores, 8 lakh self-help groups, and then all these groups will be educated into agriculture and they will teach the farmers. Where is that self-help group and where are that 840 crores? So these are all the things, and very disturbing is you had said that they have sanctioned about 1030 crores for oil seeds and pulses growing and exporting. On the contrary, it went down by 1.25 lakh tons in the last year. So whatever you declare and whatever you say, that is nothing to do on the ground. And this is the problem. And last I can tell you is internship program that was very highly propagated there. They had said that internship, that was a pilot project. They had sanctioned about 1,000 crores and 500 companies listed for putting these 1 crore boys will be hired there and taught the technical skill. Where is that? So I think these are all the things that is happening, but obviously this time also there will nothing be on the ground, but we will have to wait and see. Yes.
Okay, so now we'll come to Professor Charan Singh. And sir, deliberately I came to you last so that you can listen to the others. And what are the real complaints, from today's budget, where the budget falls short? If you could explain that is there anything to really look forward to as far as today's budget is concerned? What are the big highlights? Can there be jobs? Looking at the geopolitical tensions which are happening, is there anything really one can look forward to? How do we raise employment? All these are big questions. And then, of course, plus the schemes are announced, but what about the implementation part? How does it get implemented? Yes.
I think, Nilu, you brought me at the right time. I have the advantage of listening to everybody. As you can see, probably I've seen and I've analyzed by now about 42 budgets. So from last 42 years, I have been in this job analyzing budgets. There is never a budget which will please everyone. And there is never a budget which is like zero. No. The points that have been raised today by panelists are very correct. Every year, you announce 10 schemes. Where is the evaluation of those schemes? Where is the chart which says on these schemes, this is what we have achieved, so much is pending, so much allocation continues on these schemes, we will take it to its logical end, or so many have been terminated because they started on a false hope and they can't be complete. Certainly, under the principles of accountability, which public finance management demands, it is necessary that such a statement is always appended to the budget document. For the last 42 years, I have not seen that sort of a budget document, where I would see the scheme started 10 years ago, they had to be terminated today and all that. Evaluative chart or a Gantt chart, I have not seen. And that is a great weakness in our Indian budget making. It's a great weakness in our legislative system that whosoever is in power, doesn't matter who's in power, whosoever is in power has to be asked, you raised this question last time, please tell me what happened to this scheme. That is one thing. The other, I know, everybody in the country knows that we have only 18% of tax to GDP ratio. This is amongst the lowest in the world. We all want to be America. America's tax to GDP ratio is around 35%. If we go to Scandinavian countries, tax to GDP ratio is around 40%. Our tax to GDP ratio is about 18%. Of that 18%, 11% is the union government and about 7 to 8% is the state governments. Given the size of the sheet that we have, that is what you can allocate. Doesn't matter who is in power. This government is in power, the previous government was in power, Chandrasekhar or VP Singh was in power, doesn't matter. This constraint of tax to GDP ratio being very low, and therefore you can only stretch this much and not more. Despite that, there should be an evaluative exercise. The third, this budget is the very first budget under the Viksit Bharat program. In May 2025, the Prime Minister of the country at Niti Aayog asked the state governments, when they're all sitting together, that we need to become Viksit. The term Viksit has been going on for the last 4 years. I've been very fortunate at Ego Foundation.
Professor Charan Singh, just allow me to interrupt you. When the government talks about 2047, people are more eager to know that the geopolitical tensions which exist, what are those tensions doing to our economy? Do we have any answers? Why are we even talking about a 2047 vision? That has to come much later. People need answers as of now. Hasn't the budget failed to give those answers? And those are well-placed concerns.
So that is my fourth point. My third point is this is the first budget that has been announced after declaring that we want to be Viksit Bharat by 2047. Are we the only country which is chasing a dream of at 100 years we want to be Viksit? No. Indonesia already is chasing a dream. Their 100 years get over in 2045. They started Viksit Indonesia in 2019. Countries are already on the path of becoming developed. A vision is the fourth point, and that's the final point I want to make in this intervention. Budget is a part of fiscal policy, as is the monetary policy, both macroeconomic policies. They are policies. They are not a chartered accountant's balance of books. If somebody wants to look at a chartered accountant's profit and loss account and balance sheet, that's a different exercise. These are policies.
No, but don't you think, Professor Charan Singh,
let me
definitely
finish.
it's not. No, just allow me to interrupt you here, because many people feel that the budget lacked, the big picture. At least you need to, even if it was a political speech, government keeps saying that we keep announcing reforms throughout the year. But even if it was just a budget speech, shouldn't Nirmala Sitharaman have given a big picture, that what does the big picture of budget 2026 look like? It seems that the big picture was completely absent.
Well, as I've mentioned to you, that I've seen 42 budgets. In each budget, there is a big lacuna that I can point out. In this budget, you are right. Many common, and even the stock market is reacting. You are right. Maybe a big picture should have been delineated right in the beginning, that what is this budget statement speech about. But I am of the view as an economist that fiscal policy and monetary policy are two components of a macroeconomic policy. These are policy statements. And in policy statements, you generally give a direction. You give a sort of a strategy that you have in mind, which will unfold during this year. But our long-term objective is Viksit Bharat 2047. I will close with one anecdote. I want my child to go to an engineering college, and I have a young child, and I know in 22 years, the child will graduate from the engineering college. I have just gone today to put the child in kindergarten class. I will now have to go step by step, knowing that my target is that my child should become an engineer, but I'll have to follow a step-by-step approach. I would say, and I'm of that opinion, if I take that as my yardstick, then in my second round, I can tell you that what type of strategies that I could see in this budget and what type of direction I can see in this budget, which will be annual, which will be 5 year till 2030, which will be 2047. So my first reaction is that if in the past people have been using a budget as a chartered accountant statement, I used to always criticize that. I used to say, please tell me the direction. For that, there is a CAG and there is AG sitting. Indian Audit Account Service can come out with their annual report and tell me all that, the balance sheet, the profit and loss account, this, that. They can do that. But for a strategy document, I need somewhere the overall bigger picture, and that is coming. However, the Fiscal Responsibility and Budget Management Act requires a midterm budget report, and that is part of this document. That has been part of the document for last 20 years. That sort of gives a medium-term strategy, and that is a little more focused. Thank you.
So no, now I'll come for the final comments. Salman, coming to you now. So what would you really say towards the end that, did the budget today show some sort of a vision for 2047? What are your immediate concerns and what would you like the government to do immediately after you've seen this budget speech? What are you expecting?
Well, from the government, I'm not expecting much. And I think I said earlier why I don't expect much. But, if you just focus on the budget and forget about the overarching picture and all that, which is frankly missing, and there's nothing that can be done about that. The question is what's happening with the economy. And of course, the budget is a big part of the economy, the union government and the governments in the states. So we have to see what is going on with the financial resources that we have and how are we actually deploying them. I think that's the only thing we are left with. So I'm not really going to talk about the big picture because the government has not talked about it, and there's nothing, it doesn't really help us. But it does help us if we try to understand what is coming. So one, I'm really concerned, and everybody should be concerned about the fall in tax revenues. Okay, and that applies equally to indirect taxes and to direct taxes. So that concerns me. The second thing that concerns me is that we have to look at, I know that there have been some headlines about defense budget jumping and all the stuff, but whenever I see headlines like that, I worry because I feel that anytime I've seen headlines about defense expenditures not being what was made out to be, I don't have all the numbers in front of me, but I would be very interested to see what the comparison is from, say, before this government took over in 2014, the ratios at that time versus the ratios now. I would say that maybe the ratios have not changed that much. And so despite all the talk of how we're a strong government, this government, that government, I don't think, so we have to be very careful about defense per se. The other thing I'm concerned about is, how tax distribution is happening to the states. States have been complaining for some time that the government uses surcharges and cesses to basically shrink the divisible pool. The divisible pool is the amount of funds that goes between the center and the states. And if you compare it to 2014, by 2020, 2021. These surcharges and cesses were twice the ratio that we had in at least when our government was there. Right now, these surcharges and cesses are 40 to 50% greater than they were during the UPA times. So what that tells me is that the actual devolution to states is not that much. And many state government budgets are stressed. Part of it has to do with the kinds of promises that are made during elections. And let's face it, most of the governments in India right now are run by the BJP and its allies. So we can legitimately ask them, why are state finances stressed? And by the way, if the union government is not passing along all the funds that the 15th Finance Commission had asked for, then I think that is a travesty, because much of the development in India should be happening in the states and lower levels of administration. But I think we're so centralized, and we continue to be. So that is a disservice. And I will repeat, because there are lots of indications. By the way, I'll give you very something that's tangible. Scooters are an entry level kind of, if you want to talk about middle class India, scooters are like an entry point for that. Scooter sales in India today are close to the sales of 2018-19. Okay, that should tell you something. That's a very worrisome thing. And then the shortfall in taxes means, and other indicators show that demand in the economy is weak. Imports have been falling. So that shows you that demand is weak. And then you take the Narega story, and that is going to cast again. I know some people don't want to hear about Narega, because they think that this is backward looking. But Narega is a social safety net that has been taken away, and the replacement is going to be funded 40% by the states, whose budgets are already stressed, who are not already getting the full part of the divisible pool, and that is going to cause problems in the economy, because the economy does not run only because of the central government.
Right. In fact, your concerns around Manrega, they have been voiced by several states like Punjab. Punjab, we are hearing that a lot of farmers are unhappy, the laborers are unhappy, and there the feeling is that the government is trying to misuse the majority. Coming to you, Sarvesh, now very briefly, I want the comments from the other three panelists. That what would you say towards the end on this particular budget? What should the government be doing? Let's offer some solutions also, rather than just criticizing and saying that this is where the government fell short.
See, the intent, they lack in intent. What they did with smart cities very smartly is very evident with the plight of Indore is having the most prized smart city. So, and for those who were expecting, we have to be concerned about it. Concerned about two lines I would quote from Dushyant Kumar के कहाँ तो तय था चरागा हर एक घर के लिए और कहाँ चराग मैसर नहीं शहर के लिए. So we expect much from the government, especially the lower class, the middle class, and for the youth. We should focus over the skill development. We have practical implementation of it. We have proper plans for the skill development. We should be focusing upon the labor intensive growth, and that is not going to be done with jumlas only. That must be implemented on ground. So that is all we need to do.
Right. I'll come to Girish now. Girish, what would you really say? Was it just a Jumla budget, or what Sarvesh is just saying? Did you also see this as a Jumla budget, a budget of Jumlas again?
We already accustomed, for almost 30 years in Gujarat and now 10 years in Central, that everything is Jumla. But what happens when you loudly speak that Viksit Bharat and we are, going to be a 5 trillion economy? I'll just in short give you one example. 15,000 ITIs were built on this behalf, that understanding that, you will skill the people to the latest industry they are coming. They wanted to upgrade that trade. 3 years back, they had already sanctioned 60,000 crores for 5 years, telling that this would be creating 20 lakh jobs. What is happening? 3,000 private and 11,700 private and 3,000 government. Out of this, almost 3,850, they have been disqualified for not having the place. Now, these obviously, you see, when you give for upgradations, most of the ITIs, we know that they don't have teachers. You call the people from the visiting faculty, and so this is not how the engineering colleges run. Now, if you call that, when they did not talk anything about that, how are you going to train the people into the latest AI system? What is happening? Your data is with Jio and BlackRock. One more with Google and Adani in Vizag. So what is this happening? The logistics has been controlled by Blackstone and Hiranandani in Tamil Nadu, and now they're coming with the All India project for logistics. So your logistics, you are not independent. Your data, you are not independent. Your satellites, phone, you are not independent. And now 6,65,000 villages, you want to outrightly give away to Elon Musk because you want to say that now tier 2 and tier 3 is just a preparation for what is going to happen, how those things are going to get connected, and then you tell that everything is now going online and these villages will also be becoming advanced. So these are the things which are playing behind the budget, which we should discuss. These are not the point. The figures are always that we are hearing, they're coming in, and they don't have shame about telling about that what failed and what we really achieved.
Right, Professor Charan Singh, so what would you really say? Something optimistic one can look forward to. What would you really say to the budget 2026?
I have two thoughts on this. One is that if you want to be Viksit, growing at 9.5% to 10%, lots of hard work is required. That sort of a hard work I do not see in the budget, which I don't think is a rigorous document. Now, this could be true that are you going to place a rigorous document in public domain or not? So my own feeling is that the country will continue with the type of budget, the type of vision that I have seen in this budget will continue to grow around 7.5 to 8%. But if the run rate required is 10 runs per over, only then you will become Viksit. I think this is short by that. So much more rigorous work has to be done. Second, and that's the final point I want to make. So this budget should be written off and dustbin? No, I see green shoots in this. They have acknowledged clearly that there are certain things in which we need help and support. We will give you tax holiday till 2047 for cloud. Please come and join. Clear acknowledgement. We want to go in that direction. We need expertise. We are welcoming you. Certain targets done till 2030. But most importantly, where you see the intention is, after how many years has any government set up a committee to say that to develop the country into Viksit Bharat, I need a high-level committee on banking. See, that is being set up. While you are becoming Viksit, you are going to transform from a caterpillar to a butterfly. You will need lots of support, and finance is the most important support. When in AI, they understand that AI can be disruptive. The strategy that they have chalked out for MSMEs, granting 10,000 crore as a startup fund up there, is again that green shoot as I see it. The corridor that they have created.
Salman wants to make a point. Can I just get very briefly, Salman, if you could make your point? Yes.
So sorry, I wasn't going to say anything, but since Professor Singh brought up green shoots, it just reminds me that if you just look back over the years when the budget is presented, everybody talks about green shoots of the economy are showing up and all that. How long are we going to be seeing green shoots? This is the 12th year of this government.
Yes.
This is not the time for green shoots. By now, the economy should have been in a different place. We should not be at green shoots. We should be certainly beyond the foundation level. We should be at least at the ground floor. But we're still seeing green shoots. It's really
okay. So we'll let Professor Charan Singh make the concluding remarks. Yes, sir.
So my own reading is that on MSMEs, which could be AI could be disruptive. So they have come out with some schemes which I thought are doing well in MSMEs. Continuing in the same, the corridor that they have tried to create, which of course I feel left out, but the corridor that they have created, Bombay-Pune, Pune-Hyderabad, Hyderabad-Bangalore, Hyderabad-Chennai, that sort of fast train corridor that they have created, that's certainly going to develop that area, and IT AI hub is going to obviously take a big advancement there. Of course, North India, they have only done the Varanasi, Delhi, Varanasi, Siliguri. I wish some such corridor was created even in North India. Final point that I want to make here is there is a very positive thought on medical tourism. All India Institute of Ayurvedic Sciences against the All India Institute of Medical Sciences done earlier and doing well. I think this is going to promote lots of domestic support to the local medical sciences. So there I see green shoots in this budget, which should provide us a way forward in 2047.
All right. So Professor Charan Singh sees a lot of green shoots. You also made a mention of aims, but not to forget that there are many aims across the country where you don't even have proper faculties. So the point is that what's the point in having buildings where you can't have proper faculty members also to be there and to cater to the students? So everything boils down to the implementation. You may have grand schemes, you may have grand plans, but what if you cannot implement? Can Prime Minister Modi really step in as far as the implementation is concerned? Can he ensure that whatever announcements are made, they are carried forward by the states, by the bureaucracy, by the people who have to implement? That's where the key to the success lies. Thank you so much. I'll have to end it here. Professor Charan Singh, Salman, Sarvesh, Girish, thank you so much for joining. Thank you.